Welcome to my channel. This is Arnold. So today we're going to look at sources of income. So just a little bit background information. Sources of income vary from person to person. For some, work is the main source of income. For others, business income is the only source of income. So some might have only one source of income, and that is work or employment. One thing is that as economic downturns become more and more common and prolonged, having employment as the only source of income can be a risky strategy to adopt, especially if one only has one job and in an industry that is highly affected by economic turbulence. So that would be the case also for those who are doing business and only have one business as a source of income, and in an industry that is highly affected by economic turbulence. So some, in addition to having a regular employment as their main source of income, might also have a small business on the side. This strategy has a couple of advantages. One being the opportunity it gives to build your own dream, which could be which could be to which could be to have a business become your main source of income and not employment. So there's really nothing wrong with having one job or one business as your source of income. But one thing that would be good to take care of is to structure your employment or your business in such a manner that if in case affected adversely by economic downturns, then you have something to fall back to. So with that background, let's now go dive into more details. Sources of income therefore needs to be diversified. What do I mean by this? Number one, one needs to have more than one source of income. Number two, the sources of income needs to be structured in such a manner that they are spread throughout industries that are not prone to economic turmoils. You don't want all your sources of income to be in an industry that, if knocked down by economic turmoil, then everything that you have built goes down the drain. So the other thing is that number three is that the sources of income needs to be structured in such a way that you will still earn something even if you're incapacitated for any reason. Most individuals, if they're not able to work, they can't earn anything, and that'll be the end of it. But you don't want to always live under such kind of pressure. So it's good to be able to put things in place, put structures in place to take care of situations whereby you'll not, if you're incapacitated, then what's next? So with the current prolonged economic downturns, we've seen that certain things can easily become the new norm, and you want to build sources of income that go well with the new normal. So one interesting thing is that with every economic downturn, there's an opportunity. So it's a good thing that with the new economic downturn, you look out for those new opportunities that arise and build your sources of income based on those new opportunities. And one thing that I would highly recommend is having multiple sources of income. The more, the better. So with multiple sources of income, then comes management of those sources of income. So this is where allocation of income comes in. Earning significant amounts from multiple sources amid financial chaos is no different to earning almost nothing amid financial chaos. Therefore, management of the sources of income is key. And I have spent some time in looking at sources of income versus how to allocate sources of income, and also looked at management of sources of income in a situation whereby one has multiple sources of income. And a couple of lessons I've learned. One is a management strategy which involves listing all your expenses or what you need to spend money on and assigning each one of those to a source of income. Just as an example, we can I'll go through a list. I'll first mention the allocation. I'll mention the allocation or the expenses and mention a source. So these are just for example purposes. So for example, accommodation expenses. We all have accommodation expenses. So you can assign that to probably your salary from your regular job. Then we have food expenses. You can assign that to probably interest that you earn from a savings account. Then probably if you have credit card payments, you can assign that to the source of income to fund that would be income from your farming business. Then probably if you wish to set up an investment fund, you can fund your investment fund probably with income from your photo licensing business. The other thing is probably you want to set up an emergency fund. You can fund your emergency fund through your baking business. And the other thing is if you want to have miscellaneous expenses, you could probably fund that using your, if you're doing YouTube, income from your YouTube channel. So one good thing with assigning a source of income to an expense or an allocation is that it kind of I found it to kind of ease up the pressure that might be caused on your finances due to the expenses that you might have to meet. And as times keep getting harder, more and more expenses we experience more and more expenses, and cost of living keep going up. So you don't want to situation whereby yes, you have a source of income. Let me say your employment, but then there's chaos. You earn from A instead of taking A and putting it matching it with B. You take A and spend it on Z, and Z spend it on A. There's no structure, but I think it's a good thing to have a structure such that whenever money comes in, it goes automatically to a particular expense. And this can be done quite easily. One way of doing this would be you can have an account. You can have various accounts, more than one bank account. And for each bank account, you can assign it to a particular expense. So whenever the money comes in, goes into that account, you can, even if you want to set up automatic withdrawals, the automatic withdrawals or whichever way you want to go about it, then the money that is in that particular account, you don't touch it. You leave it for what it has been assigned for. And if in case you happen to have more expenses come up, then that's a challenge on you to look for a source of income to fund that new expense. So the second lesson that I learned is that based on where you are in life, for example, having kids fresh from college or about to retire, you want to structure the management of your sources of income in such a manner that it will enable you to attain the goals you're trying to achieve at that level. One example is if, for example, I would like to have a comfortable retirement, then I want to assign my retirement fund several sources of income that will fund it to the level that I want. I want at the time of my retirement. For example, if I want to retire and at the time of my retirement, I would like to have $10,000, and probably I've calculated that I'll be able to retire comfortably on $10,000. Then I want to assign my retirement account sources of income that will fund it to the tune of 10,000 at the time of my retirement. And I could say probably, hey, instead of allocating less sources of income to fund my retirement, I'm going to allocate more to fund my retirement income. Probably your main goal would be to fund your kids' education fund. So you might do the same. You might probably have you want to assign enough to fund your lifestyle. You might do the same. The challenge is on you to be able to do the work to get the kind of money that you want to spend. So in setting sources of income to fund your main goal, you want to put certain measures in place. For example, the sources that will fund your goal, you want to make sure that it is economic turmoil proof. And so you don't want it to be wiped away by economic forces. Number two, it cannot be wiped out or adversely affected by government policies. Government policies can come and knock you out. So you want to set up your sources of income in such a manner that it will not be affected by that. Number three is well diversified in a manner that you don't place all your eggs in one single basket. So what do I mean by that? You want to make sure that, for example, if you want to fund your main goal with three sources of income, you want all those three sources to be in industries that are spread out in such a manner that if one is affected by any other reason, then the other two still keep running as you work on replacing the third one that has been affected, or as you give the third one that has been affected time to recover. So the third lesson I learned is depending on the number of sources of income you have and how full your hands are, getting someone to help you manage each of your sources of income would be beneficial to you in very many ways. So getting somebody to manage your various sources of income would actually, in a way, turn your sources of income to passive sources of income where you don't have to raise a hand in order to do anything. And there are actually several ways of going about this. So we'll look at several ways of going about that a little bit later on. But one of some of the advantages that I saw is that it frees up your time so that you can spend that time whichever way you choose. And if your manager is good at what they do, then they will enable you to gain from their good management skills, which will earn your sources of income exponential growth. Such growth means more money in your pocket. And number three is by transferring management of sources of income to your manager. Of course, we talked about this earlier on. It kind of turned those sources of income into passive sources of income. And one thing with putting a manager in place is that the nature of a source of income determines whether you directly employ a manager or benefit from the services of a manager at a minimal fee. For example, you might have a dividend earning income or a dividend source of income, probably through your bank. They might offer you investments and earn you dividend, and the banks have people that manage those kind of investments, so you don't have to worry about management. So basically, all you do is just give them a fee versus a situation whereby you employ somebody who you pay directly to manage that. So depending on the nature of sources of income or how you want to go about it, you might when choosing a source of income, and if you have an intention of having somebody manage it, you might, at the time of choosing it, you might choose what you can give somebody else to manage for you at a minimal fee. So if one chooses something like source of income, let me say like raising goats. So for something like that, you might want to employ somebody to manage it for you on a day-to-day basis, and you get to pay them a certain amount. Probably it could be a salary or whichever kind of arrangement both of you come to. So after going through all those, then we come to a summary of our structure. So we've seen that the financial structure, has two components. It has the source of income, and then it has the allocation of the income, which would be the expenses that take away from the sources of income. And having one thing that I noted is that most individuals do think that having a financial structure on an individual basis is not something that would basically work for them. But one thing we have to learn is that major organizations that have major big corporations that are financially sound for financial soundness to come in, then there has to be a structure. There cannot be chaos. Chaos and soundness do not go together. There has to be a structure. And if as a small individual you think big, you set up for yourself a structure. You can probably even take any of the biggest corporations that you think is financially sound, or you have found out to be financially sound, and take what they learn from what they're doing and do it for yourself, because you want to think big. You want to even as an individual, you want to grow your finances. You want to pay off all your debt. You don't want to be in debt. You want financial freedom. You want to be financially sound. So it pays to have a financial structure. And with that, we come to the end of this video. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.